What's up, everybody? I'm Taylor, and I'm powerless over life, but not my reaction to life. This channel is about me sharing my personal experience, strength, and hope, my truth, what I've taught myself, and what I've learned by being involved and active in 12-step programs for the past 2 years. I've been sober since 2020, and I've been immersing myself into healing work, self-development, research, 12-step programs, counseling, whatever I could learn, whatever I could do to help me grow and to help me heal. I've done that for the past 2 years. It's been a very long and hard journey, and that is my motives for creating this channel, so people know that they're not alone. I know what it's like to suffer from emotional problems, from mental health problems, from trauma, from dysfunction, from lack of emotion regulation, the inability to process emotions in a healthy, productive way. The life that I've lived and the type of childhood I had contributed to who I had become. And what 12-step programs did, it was give me a solution. It gave me the tools I needed, the direction I needed, and the people I needed to get to where I am today. So this particular video is going to focus on why service work and 12-step programs is crucial to somebody's recovery being successful. Now, in my videos, I talk a lot about surrounding myself around people who work an honest program. And I've had many different people come up to me and ask me, well, what is your definition of, an honest program? Because one vocabulary word to me could mean a totally different meaning to someone else. As human beings, we all internalize and interpret vocabulary words based on past and lived experience. So I politely say, when I speak about someone working an honest program, I'm looking at, are they being honest? Are they open-minded? Are they willing? Are they taking action in their recovery? Do they respect boundaries? Like, are they living in the problem, or are they reliving the past every second of every day? Are their words aligning up with their actions? These are all healthy characteristics in a healthy human being. And so I didn't have these characteristics before I came to 12-step programs. And so, I've been in and out for about 10 years, and they would tell me how important service work was. Well, from personal experience, it was always hard for me to take a sober support call when someone needed me. If I was sad, if I was down, if I was angry, I didn't know how to separate my emotions, and I didn't know how to put my emotions aside and to help that person at the same time. I didn't know how to separate my emotions. And the only way for me to grow, and the only way for me to learn how to separate my emotions from my priorities, was to put myself in situations where I had to force myself to do so. And service work can mean many different things, and service work isn't also just about 12-step programs. Service work could be, helping an older lady put groceries in her car. It's an act of service that people do from their heart, right? And they really mean it, where they don't expect anything in return. Zero expectations. It genuinely comes from the heart because you want to do something. Now, this is something else that I had to learn from lived experience. There's a difference in service work, and there's a difference in people pleasing. I used to be a people pleaser. I wanted people to like me, accept me. I wanted affection and attention. So I would sacrifice my own emotional sobriety or my emotional well-being to please other people, to go out of my way to do things for other people, even when I didn't want to, because I had to check my motives for, why am I doing this for this person? I have to step back with any decision I make in life and ask myself, why am I making this decision? What are my motives for wanting to do this? I have to seriously question that. Before recovery, I really didn't care. I acted on impulse. I acted on emotions, and so all these things that made me people please was the lack of things that I got from childhood. As a child, what a healthy environment looks like is where a child can feel emotionally safe and vulnerable, where a child has a parent or parents who doesn't criticize them or judge them or scream at them or emotionally, verbally, or physically abuse them. That's what a healthy childhood looks like. And a lot of Americans, and maybe in other different countries, but mostly America, we have fucked up childhoods. We are not taught certain things. Majority of us come from dysfunctional homes. We come from addiction. We come from chaos. We come from homes where people did not know how to regulate their own emotions. They didn't know how to deal with stress in a healthy way. I grew up with people who did not love themselves. I grew up with people who carried their past pain into their current state, into the present moment. I was punished for their unresolved and unprocessed pain because they didn't have the coping mechanisms or the tool sets to help them deal with pain in a healthy, productive way. And I can sit here and I can blame this, I can blame that, I can blame my mother for not loving me enough. I can blame all these things, these abusive relationships I was in. But I have to step back and take my part in my responsibility. What is my responsibility? What was I responsible for in these relationships? Now, I like to say about 95% is what's happened to me is of my own doing. I made the choices I made that ended up with negative, harmful consequences. I chose to stay in abusive relationships. I chose to jeopardize and sacrifice my own emotional sobriety to people please other people. And that's what recovery's done. That's what 12-step program's done. It's given me the ability to see where I was at fault and to take responsibility for that and to develop a healthy relationship with myself and a healthy relationship with other people. So basically, all these things that are unresolved in who we become, who we are today, is because of our childhood. And so that there's a difference between people pleasing and there's a difference in genuinely wanting to help somebody, right? So usually, in the beginning of recovery, when I started coming back to these 12-step programs, I threw myself into service work because everybody has the motivation and just the drive when they first come in recovery is just like so fired up, pumped up because it's new, and it's just really just bam, right? So I would chair meetings. I would, run security. I did my meetings through Zoom, so I would run security in the background. I would, volunteer to do the readings in front of the meeting. I would always give my number out. Now, this is what I want to talk about with service work. With me being a people pleaser and me not wanting to be alone with myself, I threw myself in recovery the way I threw myself in addiction. I could not sit alone by myself. So although I was doing things to help me grow, I was doing productive things like helping people, self-development, meetings, like all of these things. Everything I was doing was helping me grow. And at the time, that's exactly what I needed to get through the time that I was going through. I had to educate myself. I had to learn through lived experience. And it got to a point where, people in sponsoring is a part of service work. A person should not do service work and ask for money. So let me use this as an example. My YouTube channel is free. I do not want to get paid for sharing my personal experience, strength, and hope, right? This is a type of service work. I'm giving to people what was giving to me for free. Now, could I make a living off sharing my experience, strength, and hope? Yes. And I'm in the process of being able to get a degree and to get my peer support specialist certificate to separate my service work from having to have a job to survive in this economy, and for me, I know, and this is just my experience, I don't believe that I should get paid for helping other people when this was given to me for free. My heart ain't in that. I just can't do that. And so service work should not be paid for. Service work is free from the heart. Now, I had to find balance. I had to start learning to say, no, I'm not available right now. When somebody would call me for sober support, I would get on the phone with people and I would just be emotionally drained. I was being a people pleaser. I didn't want to tell them, I have to go. It was sacrifice. I was sacrificing my own emotional well-being to people please, to show up for people, because I didn't want people to feel alone. And recovery's taught me that it's okay to say no. And so something that I started doing with people is, one, the further I got in recovery, the less I started giving my number out. And I always observe people to see if they're serious about the program, because I have seen a lot of people come and go. More people come and go than people who stay. Only about 5% of people who come in 12-step programs actually make it, and that's just statistics. So I have a lot of lived experience in 12-step programs. So, I do service work in my own ways, which, sometimes I chair a meeting. I also, another way to do service work is, like I said, we have sponsors and sponsee relationships, and a sponsor's job is to take somebody through the 12 steps. Well, something that I learned early in recovery is that, okay, yes, I should have a sponsor to make this program work, but why stop there? I can get other people in the fellowship, and I can make them my study buddy, and we can do the same thing that me and my sponsor do once a week, which we meet once a week and we do step work. So I don't have to just stick with my sponsor to do step work. So I started getting study buddies from all different fellowships, and what we would do is we meet up for a week, and we would both share our experience, strength, and hope. We'd be there for emotional support. And we had the same goals. We had the same motives. We wanted to truly help each other grow. So that is also a form of service work that is not talked about loudly in meetings. And recovery's really gotten me to a point where when someone asks me to do something, I'll use this as an example because I like to use examples and scenarios. So I've been chairing meetings for well over a year and a half. I run the meeting, I open the meeting up, I call on people. And when I first started chairing meetings, I was chairing a meeting probably like every other day for like 6 months. And I would get completely burnt out. I would burn myself out with recovery stuff. And it would make me want to stop 12-step programs. And I wouldn't stop. I would just step back. And so when I started doing my recovery schedule, right, which I'm going to do a separate video after this, because my recovery schedule is the reason why I'm balanced now and why I am where I am, because of this schedule. So it's really important. It will be probably the most important video I post. So my home group that I was going to, they started depending on me to run the meeting. And I felt like this was just too much responsibility. There's over 50 people in this room. Somebody else needs to step up and chair. And I had my sponsor tell me, Taylor, just don't go. Then somebody else will have to, take over the meeting. And so that's what I started doing. I had to set healthy boundaries to myself because I didn't want to let the people down. So of course, people pleasing, and then it got to a point where I would, started putting myself on the schedule for I went from like every other day or every day to like 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Then I went from 2 days a week. Then I went from 1 day a week. So it took me a while, about a year, to get to 1 day a week. It really did. But I found balance, and this is the point. One day I go to the meeting and somebody put me on the spot because somebody else didn't show up to chair. And they said, Taylor, you look like you're ready to chair the meeting. And, I don't really like a lot of attention calls to me like that, especially in large groups. And so I get a little dysregulated and I keep my face all straight. And I'm like, no, I'm not ready to chair. It's not my day. And then like a couple minutes later, she asked me, I didn't know the person didn't show up. She asked me, she was like, can you take the meeting? I was like, I'm not prepared. No, I cannot. And it feels good being able to be like, no, I don't want to do this. I'm not going to force myself to do something I don't want to do. And it took me a long time in recovery to be like confident and comfortable with saying no. And another thing I want to talk about, which I got off track about, is like when I'm doing sober support calls or somebody asks me to be their sponsor, what I do is I schedule my calls because I do not like last minute things. It just throws me off my schedule. I'm not that type of person. So I'll be like, let's, set up a time to talk on this day. I'm available from here to this time. So we'll schedule it, right? And if they need me in between, I don't have a problem with that. But I do let them know straight up, I keep my phone on silent. When I see it, I will respond when I have time. And I've had people not be cool with that. And the people that aren't cool with that, that's one of my personal boundaries. I just don't have anything else to do with them because they can't respect my boundaries. But if I have to do a call unexpectedly, I'll answer and I'll be like, hey, what's up? I only got 15 minutes. Like straight off the bat, like, hey, I've only got 15 minutes. I'm letting you know now. So when that 15 minutes up, I have to go. That's stating my boundaries in a healthy way. And if that person truly respects that, they will be willing to get off the phone in 15 minutes. They will not drag me past the 15 minutes, and they will not keep talking and talking and talking. So I stay away from people like that in my recovery. And I had to really